when we tell people you got to get sober for yourself, you got to get clean for yourself, you got to do this for yourself, I think we are setting them up for failure, and it is one of the worst pieces of advice that I think we can give.
If you're one of us and you're in recovery and you say you can't relate to that, I would argue with you.
Yeah. I don't know that I agree with the idea that addiction is in our bloodline. I think it's more about what we're watching and what we're soaking up as we're kids. So what am I teaching my son every time I get stressed out and reach for a bottle?
There's this thing that many of us struggle with, our brains lean towards in addiction, is just this feeling like we are the exception.
For sure. I have a feeling that if God is real, he's trying to get my attention right now.
Something that's so important is being curious enough beyond the doors of getting sober.
It's not about money to him. It's not about he's living his retirement now. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. But I get so consumed by all of this stuff and this money and business and all this crap that's going on in my life that it pulls me away from what's really important.
Welcome back to the Patrick Custer Show. I am so glad that each and every one of you are here. You're here for a purpose, and I hope that you know that you are welcome, and I want you to feel that all the way through this conversation and interview with my new friend, Corey Warren. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. We're going to have some fun. This is going to be nice.
And welcome to Nashville.
Yeah, thank you so much. A little out of my comfort zone, a lot of cars, a lot of people, a lot of, we're taking in the sights, and 24 hours here will be good enough for me to head back to the country. So we're going to have fun.
I love it. You know, people say that about Broadway a lot of the times here in Nashville. And, we have Nashvillians here that will go to like New York or Chicago, say that about the metropolitan area there, But it is, what is your comfort zone? What is normal for you?
No stoplights, a couple cars here and there. More deer crossing the road than cars crossing roads. Yeah. So that's kind of in my comfort zone, at least. We went to New York City one time, and it was cool. And even here, it's awesome. Broadway's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love Nashville. I love everything that comes out of here for the most part, but it's just one of those places that it's cool to see. Yeah. And then get me back home. But I'm happy to be here. And this is, for anybody who has not seen this studio, holy cow, this thing is... It's all what you've done here is absolutely incredible. So I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. We've been looking forward to this day. I'm so glad that you were able to travel down from between two cities in Michigan.
Between Lansing and Grand Rapids.
You are known by a number of people online and have cultivated quite a following, doing some awesome stuff. Like, I respect so much of what you do because it is getting the hype behind you're stopping the scroll. I like to say tricking people into stopping so they because they're entertained, right? And then there's a message behind it.
Yeah.
People obviously resonate with the messages because you got a lot of followers. I want to know what inspired you to get into the type of storytelling that you're doing right now on socials.
I was just talking to my social media manager the other day, and I said, I seem to have a knack for upsetting people on social media. And I mean, if you scroll through my comments, I had to stop about a month into creating content. I just stopped looking at my comments, because the way I look at it is if the boot fits, then wear it. If it doesn't, then keep doing your thing on social media. It doesn't have to apply to everybody, but the amount of conversation that it starts would lead me to believe anyway that something happened to you when you were watching the video. I don't know, did you take it personal? I wasn't intending it to hurt anybody's feelings or for people to take personal, but I think as a society we have it's ridiculous, I think, how acceptable alcohol is when you really break down what it is and how it affects us. And I don't think we spend enough time talking about that and educating even our younger generations on what's happening. So that was kind of the calling. It was, how do I create a voice? How do I get a voice? And so what better way than social media? My wife, who's sitting here today, will tell you, before social media, and this is July of 2024, that we started the whole process. Before that, I didn't have social media. So
Really?
and even now, it frustrates me how much I have a love-hate
Yeah.
relationship. I want nothing to do with social media, but it's like I love doing what I'm doing and content creating. So
Mhm.
how do I get a voice? I try to create content and get folks' attention and try to
Yeah.
at least be an example and get people thinking about it. If nothing else, at least you're thinking about it.
It's all worth it. It's absolutely all worth it.
One of the things I talk about is if I had cancer, the first thing I would do is go ask for help.
Yeah.
That would be the first thing that I would do. I wouldn't sit around going, I know the doctor told me that I have cancer, but I don't know, man. Like, do I really have cancer? And then I'm going to I just won't think about it. I'm just going to continue to live my life and not think about it. Like, no, we wouldn't do that. The minute that I found out that I had cancer, I would go seek treatment immediately because it's a problem
Mhm.
and I want to live. But with alcoholism, we push it under the rug. We act like we don't have it. We try to not see it as a problem. All these different justifications. So it's like they're both killing us. And so when you go to my comments and you look at my videos, it's because we don't want people to know that we have a problem. We don't want to be different. We want to be normal.
Yeah.
And the idea that normal is drinking poison is absurd. Now I did it. So I get it. I'm not putting myself in a different category.
Mhm.
I'm just as wild and crazy as anybody else. But now looking back, it's like, man, that was not smart. I don't want my kids to do that.
Right.
I don't want my kids to soak up all their problems and drinking and poison and alcohol and ruin their bodies and their health,
Yeah.
you know?
It's bizarre when I think because that in the rooms of recovery we hear drug of choice. I always refer to it as my drug of slavery because for me it feels more
For sure.
authentic to how my relationship with it was. In many ways, we want to hide it from both, whether it's
Sure.
your friends, but especially family. But also, if and when they know, whether they confront you is one thing. But even if they know, so much of the time, the family unit, the close friends, there's a tendency to be this huge period where they all want to keep it hidden as well.
For
There's so
sure.
much shame
For
and we'll
sure.
do so much to keep it hidden. I mean, that goes across all forms of addiction, honestly.
If you think about it,
And
my mom talks about it all the time. I want my son to be successful. Why? Because if he's successful, then I'm successful.
mhm.
Because our identity is parents, which is also a whole different topic, but something that I struggle with.
So I'm curious because you've got a 5-year-old son.
I have a 5-year-old Tasmanian devil, yeah, for sure.
More or less than you were.
You know what? I'm gonna say more because I don't really, obviously I don't
Oh, yeah.
remember. My mom seems to think it's about the same. But
Okay.
he gives me a run for my money, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Both of us, yeah.
Not to say that you're a new parent because 5 years is quite a long time to adjust to parenthood. But as you've been navigating that and the questions that come to your mind about the whole family component of addiction and it being in the bloodline and how do you deal with it? Being a parent, what my identity is, where do I pull that from? And then how do I parent authentically, altruistically, so that it's not about me doing a good job. At the end of the day, it's all about me making sure that I've been a good steward of
Sure.
the individual that I've been entrusted with.
Yeah, and I think there's two pieces to what you just said. Number one is my job as Corey, and that is to look at who am I. And number one, a parent, sure, it's part of my life, but it's not my everything. It's not my world. Parenting cannot be my world. Just the same as my career cannot be my world. My marriage cannot be my world. So I didn't want to get in trouble for that, right? So, but all these things they play roles.
The way you looked over your shoulder, like, oh man, that was great.
But really, I mean, my kids are such a huge part of my life. My wife is such a huge part of my life. My career, my friends, all these different components of my life are that makes my life what it is. But not one is all encompassing.
Yeah,
including being a dad. I have an 8-year-old daughter too. And so,
really?
yeah. So we have 2 kids and it's been a blessing, but they're going to grow up. they're supposed to. You're supposed to get them ready to fly.
Sure.
And then they're gonna leave the house and they're gonna go off and live their life. And so we have them for a brief moment. We don't essentially, I mean, yes, we're connected forever, but they're gonna be off living their own lives with their own families. So I have to do the best that I can to separate who I am and then also as being a parent, being a part of my life. So I think that's one thing. But the second thing that I think you touched on was addiction running in my bloodline. And my father was an alcoholic. I watched it my whole life growing up. He's in a nursing home now because he has alcohol-induced dementia. So I had to put him there
Wow.
because he never stopped drinking. So if anybody listening right now is like, I wonder what happens if I don't stop drinking. Well, there you go. My dad didn't stop drinking. He's in a nursing home, alcohol-induced dementia. I bring my kids over. He hardly knows who they are. He doesn't really know where he's at or what's going on. So if we don't stop this cycle,
Yeah.
that's what we have to look forward to. I saw that. So I saw my dad drinking. I saw stressful day at work, go get a beer. Celebrate, go get a beer. Football's on, go get a beer. All these different things. And so in my mind, I'm starting to make associations as I'm growing up. My opinion, I'm not a doctor. For sure, I'm not a therapist. I have no fancy, in fact, I hate school. So I don't have a degree that I can like hang up and prove that I'm like worthy of saying this, so to speak. But I don't know that I agree with the idea that addiction is in our bloodline. I think it's more about what we're watching and what we're soaking up as we're kids. If my kid comes home, 5 years old, 8 years old, either one of them, and says, Dad, I had a rough day today. Can you give me my tablet? No, absolutely not. Why do you need your tablet? I don't know, because I don't want to think about it all. I don't want to deal with the stress of what happened in kindergarten today. It was too much for me. So I just want to go check out into my tablet.
Yeah.
I'd be like, absolutely not. I don't know a lot of parents that would be like, all right, come here. Here's your tablet. Go check out. That would be horrific. But as soon as I tell him, no, you're not going to go check out into your tablet, I'm going to go to the fridge and grab a beer. There's no difference. So what am I teaching my son every time I get stressed out and reach for a bottle? Every time a game's on, I reach for a beer. Every time something is happening, I'm creating these associations, and our kids are doing what kids should do, and they're watching their parents. So what am I teaching my kids? Number one, I need to make sure that my kids, my relationship, my career, none of them become my world, but they're all a part of my world. That's what is healthy. That's that healthy balance, and it ebb and flows. And number two, my kids are always watching me. So make sure I'm setting the right example. And now my son's taking his little fake phone and he's going in the mirror in his bathroom. He's got his little water cup and he goes, if you want to quit drinking, hit me up. I'll do it with you. Peace. And he's dumping his water out.
I love it.
And I love it. It's just so cool. My kids are starting to create this association that alcohol is not good.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
So alcoholism runs like thick as blood down one side of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And down the other side, there's virtually no known addiction. I was raised in a dry house, and my oldest brother, who I'm most genetically similar to, people confuse us all the time, even though we're 19 years apart. He is also a recovering alcoholic, and he needed to and got into recovery long before I did. I was about 12. And so my reference for alcohol and alcoholism was my brother, who he was what I ended up being, like intoxicated 24/7 and, just slurred speech. And thank God he was, because he, like similar to your dad, he was very on the verge of his brain being pickled at 30 years old when he got sober. So that was a long ass way of me saying that I had every reason to, like, I was a good kid in every sense that you could think of, but college came. I mean, I had sworn I would never touch alcohol, like to depths of my soul. I was so convicted to like never, ever, 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 ever. And so that's the side where I'm just, will we ever know for sure all the stuff? Who knows? Right. But I definitely, one thing we know for sure is the nurture side of this story. What we're talking about, the nature versus nurture, right? So nature being the genetics, so a genetic predisposition. Nurture being what you were talking about, the seeing that relationship with alcohol and the benefits and why you would do it, or that it's just normalized. And the thing that we know is absolutely true, regardless of if genetics play a role or
Right.
not, is that nurture plays a significant role. I think that there's a lot of areas of society that have made huge strides in anti-alcohol culture.
Mhm.
I don't know about your neck of the woods, but like in a lot of the cities that I visit and here, now for all of the bars down on Broadway, we have one that just opened that's a NA bar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Ashley McBride, the country singer
Yep.
Ashley McBride opened it. She's in long-term
Yeah.
recovery as well.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah. I also think about, I got sober almost 15 years ago. And so I never even heard of an NA
Yeah.
beverage.
Yeah. It wasn't a thing back then. No.
The more and more I hear about that stuff popping up, I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's all I see.
Yeah.
Because like the more and more I stay sober, the more my eyes are attracted to the positive. Because I'm like, that's been there. That has been there the whole time.
Yeah.
That's not new.
Yeah.
And the solution is needed. That's why I show up and have dedicated my life. You're doing what you're doing.
I'm sure you're right in saying that there is a huge genetic side to this. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about that. So I have to focus on the other areas.
Absolutely. And I think that to your point there, all right, so the alcoholic brain, here's what we're talking about. It goes, oh, okay, but I don't have any alcoholics in my bloodline, so I'm probably good to go. Like I don't have the gene. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is when you've got alcoholics, multiple or even just one close in your genetics, a predisposition means you're all that much more likely.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the danger and the ways that alcohol affects our body, I mean, do you have a heartbeat? Because that's right. Is not genetic dependent. Okay, before you and I started having formulated thoughts on recovery, and we were a hot mess, and that's one of my favorite things to talk about, quite frankly, because I'll take it back to when I got sober. I couldn't focus on any of the things that were necessary in the rooms of recovery, the literature in 12 steps. I had a really, really hard time just getting into any form of recovery mentally because I don't know why, but what I could was stories. Hook, line, and sinker, you start telling me about your storm, your chaos. I'm all of a sudden wrapped up. You're like that. That's what got me. And if it weren't for people that took the time to come back and share their story of what happened, I don't think I would be here
for sure
sober today. So that's one of the big reasons why stories mean so much to me, because they're wholeheartedly, I believe, the reason in many ways, the reason why I'm still here and alive today.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that they're what help us not to feel alone and to feel like, wow, somebody else is just as crazy as I am, because I can isolate myself really quickly. I'm the worst.
Well, yeah, nobody else and BFE. I know,
but for real, I mean, I could get to the point where, why me?
Yeah,
I'm the only one that's this nuts. I'm the only one that has this problem.
For those who don't know, there's a phrase thrown around in recovery called terminal uniqueness, where whether you're talking about being the worst or being great, there's this thing that many of us struggle with, our brains lean towards in addiction, is just this feeling like we are the exception.
For sure.
For me, once I was able to get to a place of just accepting that and just being like, okay, well, that's something I'm probably just going to come back. Like, I'll get more spiritually fit and it goes away. But you know what? There's still ways that I end up being terminally unique all of a sudden on a Monday because the wind blew the wrong way. Yep.
I relate. I do.
And so when we talk about stories and connection, it gets me so hyped up because I feel like we get to be a type of connected emotionally, spiritually, mentally, that so many people in adulthood don't ever enter into because nothing pulls them into a need for it.
Right. I'm the guy that if I start drinking, I'm blacking out and I'm not going to work. I'm not handling my responsibilities. So the other problem that I think I at least did, and I think many of us do, especially those that are not educated, for lack of better words, on alcoholism, is that we think that we understand, we think we know what an alcoholic is because Hollywood has told us.
Or
The
whatever instance in your own life,
Yeah,
even you can't encapsulate. Let's say you know 5 people that suffer from alcoholism. You can still, and they all have different levels. You can
yeah,
still not know a whole variety of other ways that alcoholism shows up in individuals.
for sure. I guess one of the red flags to me is when you start judging your drinking or you start to compare yourself to other people to make yourself feel better. So normal drinkers don't do that.
Yeah.
Normal drinkers don't go, well, that guy's worse, so I'm okay. It doesn't happen. It's not a thing. They don't question it. My wife can drink. She doesn't wonder. She doesn't sit up and go, I wonder if I am an alcoholic. In fact, 99.9% of my videos don't apply to her, and she doesn't even think twice about them. I'm like, is that a good video, babe? And she's like, I don't know. Maybe. That's what a normal drinker would
Right.
do, because it's like,
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah.
Is it a good
Yeah.
video? I'm not in your shoes. But again, then you have all these thousands and thousands of comments from people who are like, well, I'm fine. I would say to anybody listening, just be careful, because not everybody's alcoholism or addiction or whatever it is going to look the same.
Yeah.
My dad went to work every day. Nobody knew he was really an alcoholic. He hit it very, very well. There are those that just spin out on a Friday and then get their whole life back together for 6 days. There are those that black out. There are those that are your living under a bridge. All I do is drink all day, every day.
Oh yeah.
And the same thing applies to, there's not one type of alcoholic, and there's also not one type of way to recover. So sometimes people
Amen, brother.
be in my inbox and they're like, well, tell me how to do it. That's such a loaded question. I can't just tell you how to do it. We all know that there has to be a point of detox or a point of abstinence that needs to take place. So whether you can have the willingness or the willpower to do that, fine. If you don't, detox, rehab, probably a good way, place to start. But after that, continuous sobriety, recovery is going to look different for every single person. Some people are 12-step driven. Some people are celebrate recovery. Some people go to church. Some people don't do anything. Some people just go to work all the time. Some people go to therapy, outpatient. The list goes on and on and on and on. So I think that it's important, as far as even when we're looking at people, to say, do I have a problem? Do I not? Do my family, my friends, do they have a problem? Do they not? There's not a one size fits all. And then also to anybody struggling with alcoholism, there's not a one size fits all when it comes to recovery either.
That is a very evolved view from a recovering standpoint. If you had taken somebody from yours or my position to even 10 years ago, the recovery world was so much more closed off and closed minded to one way being, it's 12 steps in abstinence and being this one path of how you do it. I think that everybody's always doing the best they can with what they have, quite frankly. Personally, that's like my own theos or but we have for a long time needed to do better with realigning how we're, those of us who are helping and showing possibilities, to realign ourselves with being open to what I did does not have to be what you do.
100%.
I think what is necessary is wanting it. I mean,
100%. Let me ask you this though. Do you feel like people need to do it for themselves?
I used to have an answer that I would always say, which was yes. When I got sober, I didn't have kids. I mean, I don't have kids now, but I didn't have a significant other. I didn't have a spouse. I did it because I had no other choice. Would I say that I did it for me? Both then and now, I'm trying to answer. Like, I don't even know that I still had a tether onto what I once knew being my appreciation and joy of life. When you have that and you want to be alive, that's the thing for me that ties you on to wanting to do better, not wanting to. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to disappoint the people in my life I did not like being a liar.
Right.
But they say passive SI, being something that is a trait that plays out in our behavior in addiction. For me, that was very true. I didn't want to die.
Mhm.
I also didn't. I really
Yeah,
don't think I cared, and
yeah.
so I went to this whole place of laying that out for you to say my answer personally is quite complex because I don't really think I did it for me when I did it. It was years before I realized that because I told you and I would have sworn up and down that I did it for me. I hit the bottom that I needed
Yep.
to, and yada yada yada. But now knowing what I do and being more educated and whatnot, I'm able to piece that apart and go, ah,
I think we are setting people up for failure more than we know when we say that to them.
yeah,
When we tell people, you got to get sober for yourself, you got to get clean for yourself, you got to do this for yourself, I think we are setting them up for failure. And it is one of the worst pieces of advice that I think we can give. I have seen many people become very successful because they did it for the courts, because they didn't want to go to jail. I've seen many people be very successful because they did it for CPS because they didn't want their kids ripped away. I've seen many people do it for marriages. I've seen people do it for jobs. I've seen people do it for every single reason under the sun except for themselves. Because frankly, at the point that I think I should probably get sober, that bottom is a point where I don't really like myself.
that part.
And so I wouldn't really do much for myself. I'm going to do it for my kids. I'm going to do it for my wife. And over time, we start to gain a little bit of that self worth back. And as we gain a little bit of self worth, I think we start to do it, at least I did, for myself. There could be days, and this is, gosh, I got sober when I was 22 and I'm 36. So even today, to tell you every single day I do it for me, I'd be lying to you. There are some days that I'm so angry and I'm so overwhelmed, and I'll see that beer and I'll be like, that looks so good, but I can't let my kids down. Because if I wasn't married and I didn't have kids and I didn't have the job I did and I didn't have the friends I did and I didn't have the support group that I did, who's to say I wouldn't drink? I might. So that's the second part of what I'm saying is I don't know that maybe struggle less. I struggle with different things now,
Yeah.
but I struggle, dude. And I think to think that we just lose that thought that we want to drink, I, I I don't lose it. And maybe I'm doing something wrong because there are plenty of times that my wife and I'll probably go to out on Broadway tonight, probably stop in, have dinner somewhere, and I'll probably see a beer. And that intrusive thought of saying, how come I gotta be weird? How come I can't be normal? How can't I can't be one of the guys that just has one beer and goes home and acts, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Why do I gotta be the one that blacks out?
I love so much that you brought this up because just like, as we're talking about there being such a spectrum of different types of alcoholics, different types of recovery modalities, there's also this spectrum where, because you and I are on opposite ends right here. And I think it's so cool to talk about because, I've got one of my best friends would identify just how you explained it being something kind of frequent that at 14 years sober, she is like, it comes up for her regularly.
Mhm.
And I don't remember the last time I, considered a drink or thought or it looked attractive to me. I've been blessed with, and I say that because it truly is a blessing that like
Mhm.
when I think about a drink now at all, period, my first thought, and it's remained this way, is how freaking bad it was at the worst for
Mhm.
me. And many people don't have that blessing. What they have is the how good it was, how it feels, the warm feeling, the peace, the ease and comfort, all that stuff. Life is not a bed of roses. I'm not trying to say I have it better than you. Where I'm saying it's so cool to compare and contrast is for the audience member that says, no, 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 I don't identify with Corey on that part. Well, let me tell you, because you might identify with me. It's not the beer, it's not the liquor, it's other things in life. Because once those have gone and once the obsession has left, you name it. Like I could, if we were going to get really honest, give you an encyclopedia of all the things that make my dopamine go boop. So many of them out of balance are the things that my brain will start ticking away at
Mhm.
when, the thought of, I don't like the way I'm feeling.
Mhm.
or I want to celebrate,
Mhm.
or I want to yada yada yada.
Mhm.
You know, insert here. It's in many ways equally as dangerous because it leads us down a path of being completely out of control, regardless of whether it's a beer or it is a behavior pattern, another addictive behavior. It doesn't just go away because we stop drinking.
Right.
I guess I just wanted to say that, like, even though it might not be a beer that is calling your name after 10 years,
Right.
there's still stuff that we deal with from the addiction side of things.
Yeah. So for me, it wouldn't even be the feeling of drinking a beer. It's the it's me isolating myself again.
Mm.
How come I'm the one that can't? So it's really not about the effect. Because when I'm down on Broadway tonight and I see those people drinking, it's not, oh, I wish I could have a drink because I want to feel the effects of alcohol. It's putting myself in this box over here. Corey's different. I'm
Mm.
different than everybody else. How come I can't be normal? That's the trigger. That's the part that holds me up. It's not about, I'm going to have a great time tonight. We don't have kids. Been a while since we've had a date night without kids, so we're going to have a blast. But man, there's that piece of me that still struggles with, I wouldn't even say self-worth, but who I am as an alcoholic.
Can you define on a bad, like in a bad spot?
What do
How
you
would you describe it then versus when you're in the healthy brain, in the healthy space? Because we tend to, when we're in that place of why me, all those things, we're not operating from that part of our brain that has rebalanced, repaired, and is operating from a place of self-love. And like you said, at a point it does become that I know and I love, and I choose to continue putting the recovery foot first for myself because I have other things in my life, right? Like in the healthy place, like we can see all of that, but we get into this unhealthy. Everybody does
Mhm.
the dark, in a dark spot where you start being like the unique. So that's what I was kind of curious about, of like, what is the narrative you tell yourself when it's the isolated point and you feel like you're not in that?
I'm going to probably not give you what you're looking for here. I think because I'm going to take you on a little bit of a rabbit hole because I've looked, dude, I tend to do this a lot.
I can't relate.
Rabbit holes are my thing. So, I don't know if this is all the time, but I suffer from an ego that I have to put in check all the time. If people got honest with themselves, I think a lot of us do. But I can only speak for myself. I have it's kind of like a false ego. Sometimes I feel insecure or there's a lack of confidence in myself. And so I'll try to go over the top with that. When I'm out, if we're at a restaurant or we're at a bar, we're at a party or something like that, and everybody's drinking and I don't. So let me put it like this. We go to this family get together every year. Her family's massive. There's 50 of them, 100 of them probably. It's a lot anyway.
Wow.
Lot of people, a lot of beer. It's not so much that I want to drink, and it's not even so much that I'm putting myself in a box, but what it is I think everybody's looking at me because I have that much of a freaking ego that I think I'm the most important person in the world, and everybody at this house is all watching me, and they're not. They could care less what I'm doing, but for some reason, my brain tells me, you look stupid. You look ridiculous right now because you're the only one that can't drink. So everybody looks at you and they all think that you have a problem. You suck. And so I get insecure. I start feeling like everybody's watching me and everybody thinks different of me. And then I isolate myself based on that. And all of a sudden, I'm trapped inside of my brain. So now when people try to talk to me and try to communicate with me and try to stir up conversation, I'm like, I don't even remember how to talk because what you're really thinking is you feel bad for me. Not because you really want to know what's going on, not because you really care about how my life's been doing, but I'm sitting over here by myself in this corner without my beer. I'm the odd man out. You're coming over here just to see, are you okay? And so I just close down, I shut down. And so I can't talk. I can't really communicate. I don't know how to function. You seem like you have some 12-step experience, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is in the 12 and 12. Myself and my alcoholic personality, I either need to be in the spotlight or hiding underneath the pillows.
Mm.
One of the two. I
Mhm.
can't be in the middle. I can't just be a person in a room full of people. So you put me in front of 1,500 kids on a stage, I'll do fine. Put me in front, it doesn't matter. You can put me in front of 100,000 people and I'd have no problem. I wouldn't even sweat before going on stage. I don't care. But again, I'm in the spotlight. If I'm not there, I'm going to be hiding, right? Because everybody's looking at me and thinking that I have a problem and I'm such a loser and all these different things. And so to answer your question, that's the darkness that I
Mm.
struggle with. So when we go out, there's going to be that guy that's at the bar, that's having a good old time with all of his buddies, and he's got his beer in his hand, and they're cheersing and all these things. So when I think, why can't I do that? It's because I'm the only one in this bar who can't drink right now. And all these people are noticing me, and they're all looking at me like, I wonder what's wrong with that guy. And then my wife's probably thinking, gosh, how come my husband can't go have fun like that? Right. And so I'm starting to play this whole movie out. That's what I go through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
Or is
absolutely.
that like way too dark and I just freaked everybody out?
No, I
No?
mean, I think if you're one of us and you're in recovery and you say you can't relate to that, I would argue with you.
Yeah.
Especially being any kind of extroverted, nobody wants to feel othered. And you're out amongst a lot of people feeling a different way, like what you just described. It feels like you're being forced out of, peeled away from your identity,
Mhm.
which is a lover of people, someone who connects because it's fun. It's how we recharge. It's how we get energized, you know, all those things. So when you look at the, like, what you experience in scenarios like that versus when you go to an event where there are a number of adults that aren't drinking, is there a part of you that has compassion for the Corey that still walks into that, you know, to the space? Because that's hard. That's coming from the extrovert in me. I love going and being with people so much that when I think about isolation stealing
Mhm.
that potential connection,
Mhm.
it sucks.
But it's only in certain situations. It's not all the time. That's just, those are the moments that, and who's to say it might not even happen tonight.
Yeah.
So this is basically, it's so deep. It's so rooted in so many areas. It's not just about today. It's about, how's the last couple days went? Have we been fighting? How are things going over here? So there's so much of this that adds into, so when I hit that location and I'm in that position, I mean, I could be super comfortable. Everything could be fine. I could be having a blast. We could have the time of our lives tonight. And we probably will, because we're coming off of, I mean, most things in life are going really good. But if I were to be struggling at my job, if things were insecure about this, we're having financial, struggles over here. So if there's a whole bunch of other things at play, then I'm going to go and have more of those thoughts tonight, because
Sure.
I'm already beating myself up in all these different areas of my life over here. It's not something that I experience all the time. I don't want to scare people from the idea that, well, this is what I have to look forward to if I stop drinking. Like, I might as well just keep drinking. No, this is just, because I have that thought doesn't mean it consumes me for more than 30 seconds. It's a fleeing thought. I've been able to, whether it be through different therapy styles or working with people and understanding more about myself, whatever the case may be, I've learned to harness it and to be able to,
And that's what we do.
yeah.
I've been picking away at you to try and get to that point
Yeah.
this whole time, right? So, because I wanted to hear you divulge, like, what it is that, you know, ultimately you do, right? And at the end of the day, if it was that terrible and it never, the foot never lifted off your chest,
Mhm.
you'd either never go around people who are drinking ever again,
Mhm.
or you'd start drinking again because it was that unbearable. But neither of those things are true, because there's solution. And I think that's the really cool part that
Yeah.
we get to talk about.
I had just about 10 years sober, and I had opened up a nonprofit. We were killing it. I mean, we were full. We had court relationships. I mean, we're the biggest housing program in the state of Michigan. I was very successful with that. I'd opened up a tattoo shop. We
Oh,
were
wow.
very successful there. My wife and I opened up a salon. I don't do any of that. Obviously, she does her eyelashes, and there's nails, and I usually say eyebrows.
Tell more about it. Like, you're doing a really good job. Like, what else happens at the
No,
at the
I don't want
salon?
to talk more about it. I'm done talking about it. You're gonna get me in trouble.
And there's nails, and I think there's
always-
painting involved.
I always go in and people are like, "What does your wife do?" I'm like, "She does eyebrows," and she's like, "No, I don't. I do eyelashes." I'm like, "Oh." Okay, let's move past this point. Anyway, we had gotten into.
enjoying this point.
I'm sure you are. So we went into all these different. I was having the time of my life, man. To be honest with you, I really was. I was successful in a lot of ways. We had got married in 2019. and and our son was born in 2020, and so it was just we had bought a house. Everything was just going so good, you know. And coming from where I come from, like I had it in the bag. I was making good money. I just bought a boat. We had toys. We had house, kids, marriage. Life was good, and I was just at or just over 10 years sober. And I remember going up north. There's like another part, it's called the Upper Peninsula. And so we were way at the top of the Upper Peninsula. So way away from like civilization
Oh.
altogether. And we're up in this little itty bitty town. And it's just me, my wife, and my mom. And we're trail riding on some side by sides. We got to a point where we split off. We stopped. We got our coolers out, whatever. I had my coffee. They probably had a drink, however it went down. And I thought to myself, you know, I stopped drinking in my early 20s. I'd probably be all right to drink again because I had look how long I've been sober for one. Number two, I'm way more responsible now than I was in my early 20s. I was just a college kid. I was just young, stupid. There's no way that I drink like that now because I have a family, I have a career, I have all these things so I could drink again. And so I went to my mom and my wife and I said, I wasn't trying to hide nothing. I said, I think I could drink. I think I could be responsible and drink because I don't want to be that unnormal, like weird person. Like I want to be able to have a beer and control it and everything's going to be good. At that little bar in this little town of the Upper Peninsula, after almost 10 years of being sober, I ordered my first beer and I drank that beer and I put it down and I didn't drink again that night. And I was like, I did it. I've achieved it. Like I'm past this addiction thing. This is great. Next weekend, I have another beer. Put it down. This is awesome. See, I told you guys I can handle it now. Life is different now. Next weekend, I'd have 2 beers. Then it was 3. Then it was 6. Then it was 12. Then it was a shot. And all of a sudden, this complete old pattern of who I was just came back to the point where just a couple months after I had that first beer, I was blacking out every single morning again, drinking multiple fifths of vodka every single day. My career was shot. I wanted nothing to do with the business. I didn't show up to work. My wife ended up taking my kids and moving out of the house to get them out of what was going on there because it was just such a nasty environment. I had, from the outside looking in, everything that anybody would want. But something dragged me back. There was still that void inside of me, all those years being sober, and there was still a void. There was still that part that I was not able to figure out. So I go back to rehab. I sober up, and a couple things happened prior to that rehab. I told you I live out in the middle of nowhere. I had a
Wait,
farmer.
but what got you to rehab?
I don't really know because my friend took me to rehab one time and I walked in the front door and out the back. I had no interest in being there. I don't know. Twice I did that. My wife's pointing at me 2 times. You did that twice. I don't know. She might know better than I do because I was drunk all the time. I remember she was gone, the kids were gone. I'd left the house and gone back to my mom's house. And for some reason, we just got there. I think my mom kept me drunk enough to get there. And then when I got there, they hooked me up to, does that make sense? I mean, to
Yeah.
another alcoholic, it probably makes sense, right? A normal
Yes.
person's like, you're nuts.
No, that's
No,
yeah.
I needed to
It's
stay.
one of those things where it's like you don't want to tell somebody to do that, but at the same time you kind of get it because like
Yeah, I think she gave me just enough shots to keep
yeah.
me comfortable until I made it to rehab. Then they hooked me up to all their drugs and kept me good. And finally I got through it and I was detoxed. But prior to going there, I had this guy show up. Well, I hunt this farm down the street and the farmer showed up at my house and his son showed up there. And then they brought their other buddy from down the street who was an old pastor at a church that was nearby. And he showed up and he says, Corey, do you know God? And I was like, oh, here we go. No, and frankly, I don't really care to know. I don't want to. That's not what I need right now. I need to figure out how to get my life back on track. I don't need you here trying to get me to do this religion thing. It's not for me. Respectfully, of course. And I went about my life. And right before I went to rehab, this first time I went to rehab, I walked in the front door, walked out the back door, and I hitchhiked a ride, and the guy who picked me up in this van, which was crazy, right? You shouldn't get in vans, but I got in a van. Out of all the vehicles I could have gotten, it was a van.
Yeah.
And I remember getting in the van and I said, I just need you to get me to a liquor store. I just need to get a bottle. And he says, that's fine. I'll get you a liquor store. I'll even buy the bottle. Awesome. Thank you so much, dude. Good guy. He's like, I just want you to have this. And he gave me a Bible. And I was like, what is the deal? I kept that Bible. I had it in rehab when I went, the time that I actually stuck. And I opened it up and it was like all these big words. And I don't know how, I mean, thy, thou art, and I can't understand any of it. And I'm also trying to like withdraw right now from alcohol. And I'm
Mhm.
like shaky and I'm like trying to read this Bible. And I'm like, these guys are full of crap. And I closed it and I didn't want nothing else to do with it.
Many of us are raised in, in homes where that, like, we at least were around it. Was this something that was foreign to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I was not raised around it.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, sure.
I might have went to church on like Easter
Yeah.
or Christmas or whatever when I was a kid, but other than that. So I get home from rehab and I don't remember if it was I had another conversation. Maybe Pastor Roy came back to my house and was like, "Hey, what you think now?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm good." But it felt like God kept getting brought up over and over. So I had some conversations with Britt and I was like, I don't know what this whole God thing is and what's going on, but it feels like that's the direction I'm getting pushed right now. Neither one of us went to church. It wasn't something that we had going on in our lives, but I had hopped in the car to go to a meeting, 12-step meeting. This is after rehab, and I was driving down the road. I was about a half a mile away from my house at most. And I turned on a radio station that's always country music. And that's just what I listen to. I listen to country music, so I love it. So I clicked it on. I had the radio station 100.7 WITL, and it was playing worship. And I'm not talking about like country worship. I'm talking like hands raised in church, choir singing gospel. Like it was like church music, right? And I was like, went back to that station, and it was still on this worship. And I turned it again, went back, shut my radio off, turned it back on, and the screen reads country music, but it's playing like this church music. And I'm like, what is the deal? So I FaceTime Britt and I'm like, you need to go out. And I'm stopped at a stoplight, right, or at a stop sign. And I called her, FaceTimed her, and I said, you got to go out your Jeep and turn on 100.7 and tell me what you hear. And she goes out in her Jeep and she turns it on. I think it was a Luke Bryan song that was playing in her Jeep on 100.7. I am a half mile away from her, the same radio station, and I'm playing worship over here.
Wow.
And it scared me. Patrick, when I tell you, I have never been so terrified. I felt it on every bone in my body. I clicked my radio off. I was so scared. I drove as fast as I could to that meeting. I didn't listen to music the whole entire way. I was scared. I called Pastor Roy and I said, I have a feeling that if God is real, he's trying to get my attention right now. I will come to your Bible study. So I went to this farm to a Bible study and didn't understand a word that they were saying. Couldn't tell you what they were even talking about. But I was there and something just felt right. I don't know how to describe it to you, but something for the first time in 30 years of my life, something felt different. When we talk about how do I get through these moments? How do I build on this stuff? How did it get easier? Everybody's got a different path. But when I found this relationship with God, it was a void inside of me that I could never fill with alcohol, with sex, with anything, gambling, shopping, it didn't matter. And that void finally got filled. So when I went to that bar, I still wanted everybody's approval. When I went to that party, I still wanted everybody's approval. But it was like I no longer needed it because I only really needed approval from one. When I started living that way, I feel like God started impacting our lives. We both gave our lives to Jesus, and our kids gave their lives to Jesus. And our home is filled not with religion, but with a relationship with God. We don't go to a brick and mortar church. We don't sit around every Sunday and listen to somebody up on a stage. But we pray together. We talk to him when we're happy, when we're sad, when we're indifferent. Sometimes I yell at him. Sometimes I'm so angry with him, and some days I'm just thanking him for where I'm at. But I'll tell you that there's a peace in my life that I can't explain, that I've never experienced, that sobriety didn't give me, recovery didn't give me, that I have now. And I'm so grateful for it. Viewers who are listening, who are, if there are any that are kind of rolling their eyes, trust me, I am not trying to be the one to just sit here and start talking about God's gonna, it's just my story.
Right.
I can't do anything about it.
Your story is your story, and the audience can deal with how it comes out because journalistically, like this needs to be about the truth and your truth because I want to know what impacted you, how it impacted you, and what truly indeed happened. And when you're talking to me about a relationship that you found that changed your life, whether people can believe that or not, they can still understand what you're saying in a
Sure.
concept. That's what I would ask the viewer or the listener that may be turned off to faith of any kind.
Yeah.
Someone finding what you just described, whatever you want to call it, is a beautiful thing and transformative. And I would hope that anybody could be so happy that another person would find this.
Even if you go back in AA, doesn't matter what, higher power is all over the program. God is all over the literature. There's obviously a spiritual component at some capacity that they thought needed to be implemented. I never understood that until that day. I never understood why. I never understood how. And my mom was pretty spiritual in a different way, but I never could really wrap my head around it. Even at the best of my sobriety prior to that, I was still kind of a jerk. And I was still very arrogant, and I just wasn't a very good person in a lot of ways. I would gossip. As long as I wasn't drinking, I was all right. And
That was your threshold. That was your the
yeah,
bar.
yeah. As long
like,
as I wasn't
yeah.
drinking, I'm not saying I was out there just causing mayhem, but I definitely wasn't really trying to improve myself a ton past just not drinking. This time is different. I'm trying not to cuss. I'm trying not to gossip. I want to be a better person. I want to be better for my wife, for my kids.
Well, that's the thing,
for
Corey. I think you just hit the nail on the head. Something that's so important is being curious enough beyond the doors of getting sober. So you remove the alcohol. Yes, that's great. And it's awesome because you get to live longer. And no matter who you are, I think that same thing happens where we keep searching for the different stuff that makes us feel better. The bar is not set very high if we don't stay curious about how we can continue to improve morally, spiritually, physically, mentally. Everything. By the time we get sober, we've been neglecting all of those things for so long, and some of them never been touched developmentally.
Yeah. A lot of people say early sobriety is so difficult. Yeah, it's got its challenges, I think. But 10 years sober, when I forgot about that pain, and I forgot about how difficult it was, and I forgot about how terrible it was, and I forgot about all those horrible moments, that's when it was hard because I hadn't done any growth in any of those other areas. I just put the bottle down. I didn't really work on myself.
When do you think you stopped growing?
About 3 years in. I didn't stop. I stopped growing as a person. I started growing in other areas of my life. I was very monetary focused. I was focused on business. I was focused on money. I was focused on career. I was growing. Again, from the outside looking in, it looked like my life was moving forward.
But for those of us who are in our position, you grow out of balance like that.
Yeah, big time.
And it pushes you in to a real dangerous area.
And money became my God.
Yeah.
At that point. It became the most important thing because money could buy happiness. It could buy everything. And I'll tell you one of the craziest things that ever happened. My daughter is from a relationship that I had before I was married. And when she was really young, she'd always want her mom. It was hard for me to hear that. It was hard for her to be with me missing her mom because I'm like, dang, I just want like my time, But that was the reality of it. She really missed her mom and she still does, but it was like meltdowns in those first like 2 years of her life. It was tough on me. I'm sure it was tough for Britt to watch too. But her mom lived in this little apartment about 20 minutes away from us. And we lived in this beautiful house and land and toys and all this stuff. I remember this was all going on and we were looking, this is towards when I was drinking, and we bought a boat. And we bought a boat that we did not need. Probably one of the worst financial decisions I've ever made in my life.
I feel like most people I know who've bought boats
Are gonna
eventually say that about them.
They are. They're terrible. Don't ever buy one. If you're considering one, don't buy it unless you want to buy mine. Then I'll sell it to you. But I thought to myself, it was crazy. I was like, you know what? This is gonna be it, because my kids are gonna be like, this is so cool. This is what it's all about. And I wanted them to be so happy about going out on the boat and hanging out and doing all these things that she wouldn't even think about going to mom's or doing anything. You know what I mean? Because it's so fun at dad's. And I remember she sat on that boat in the lake, music cranking, sun shining. She says, Dad, I just really miss Mom. And it was like, it hit like a ton of bricks. It was like, wow, my priorities have been messed up, because my kids don't care about what I can give them. They don't care about our boat. They don't care about our countertops. And if they're quartz or if they're just a piece of drywall, They don't care. They care about time. They care about me being present with them. The difference between Mom's house and my house was when she got out of school or kindergarten or daycare, whatever it was, her mom spent all that time focused in on her, present with her, where Dad was constantly taking work calls and gone over here and doing this over here and not available. So who would she want? Naturally, I want the one that's going to pay attention to me, not the one who's buying a boat because he thinks that's what's going to make me happy. Life has changed a lot in these last couple of years and what is important. And I'll tell you that while I snap back to money often, sometimes the busyness is one of the worst things for me.
I feel like you're just attacking the things that you're just attacking me.
I don't mean to attack you.
Yeah,
brother.
I was kidding. No, that's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, the terminal uniqueness of just being like, yeah, you're just talking about the two things that are my big. But like, you stay sober long enough, you work hard. Money and busyness are two things that are going to become a struggle.
Yeah.
That, I mean, honestly, whether you're sober or not, if you haven't struggled as an adult with identifying a healthy balance with both of those things, I mean, you know, I don't know what you're doing, like, but I definitely know that it's something that takes a relentless pursuit.
Because I want what I want.
You want what you want, and so I'm curious if you feel this way too. And I just had this realization of kind of where I think the limit is that boxes me in. I want to, at my core, there's this part of my brain that wants to feel like at some point I'm gonna have it figured out, so that it's not gonna be a struggle for me anymore to be able to healthfully balance money. It's not going to be a struggle for me to basically not going to have to put any thought into it. It's not going to be a thing. Where the truth is, when I'm having these honest, vulnerable conversations, I can sit here with you and say, I know in actuality, this is something that's going to be, there's always going to be a rub as long as we have any push towards adjusting with what the needs are, with change, with getting uncomfortable when that's required, whether it means, you know, like not taking the call that means another deal that's really important, and realizing like a lot of times in leadership we hear saying similar to this, but like with time, you spend your time doing something at the cost of something else always. So make a good choice. That is true whether you're a CEO, a small business owner, an employee of a corporation, or you are, you know, work in retail. Period. It doesn't matter.
I'm not sure if you've heard this one. Guy's sitting on a dock. He doesn't have a shirt on. He's fishing, just catching a tan. Looks rough, right? So doesn't look like he's, you know, coming out of, maybe he's not a CEO. He's a younger guy, maybe early 30s, mid 30s. And anyway, here comes this guy in a suit walking down the dock, and he looks at him. He says, "Every day you're down here and you're just fishing. You know, what you could do is you could get one of your buddies come out here. You could give him a small cut. He could help you fish. You could bring in more fish. If you saved up this amount of every single fish that you caught, you could buy yourself a boat. Once you bought a boat, you could hire on a bunch of employees and you guys could really start fishing. It would bring you in 10 times the income that you would be doing at this point. You could essentially buy even more boats and retire early, and then you could do anything that you want." And he says, "Like what? Sit on this dock and fish?" And it was like, why do we wait till retirement to do what we want to do? I'm so darn busy trying to make it to retirement. This guy's out there fishing on this dock, doing exactly what he loves and wants to do. It's not about money to him. It's not about he's living his retirement now. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. But I get so consumed by all of this stuff and this money and business and all this crap that's going on in my life that it pulls me away from what's really important and what I really want to do. So then I just bust my butt for however many years in the workforce to then retire to do what I want to do. And it just seems kind of silly. So I've been in this mode where it's like, what pieces of my life are bringing value? I have done probably 100 budgets in the last 6 months to see where in my life I could cut out to be able to stop working so much. More times than not over the past 6 months, I've wanted to delete all my accounts and be completely done with social media because it's consuming so much of my life. And I feel like I'm just adding to the chaos. And that hurts my heart sometimes in my brain. I sit there at night and I scroll and I'm checking my accounts and I'm checking all this stuff and I'm taking time away from what's really important. But now I've justified it and I call it work. Sobriety recovery has given me the ability to even challenge myself like this.
It's a gift, right? Like this is a what we say Cadillac problem,
Yeah,
today.
it is.
It is hard though.
Yeah.
It's not to, and that's not to diminish how much of a mountain that can be, because what you just described, while we can sit here and smile and call it a Cadillac problem, it's also something that has caused other people to go out and drink before because of how heavy it is. So, not to be taken lightly. There's blessing in it. It's all about perspective,
For sure.
right?
For sure.
It's that thing of money. You need it, but there's like, you can go too far.
What is even living within your means? Do any of us live within our means?
Right.
Absolutely not. If you look at like
more money, more problems.
If you look at like what the actual, like whatever salary you make, like how much percentage you should pay for like your mortgage or your rent or a vehicle, like we are not even close. We live so outside of our means. And then that's
I think that's the average American, and we're set up, society is set up to American society. I don't think all countries operate similarly.
No, they don't.
That's definitely the norm for us here.
Yeah, and then we just keep running and pushing and running and running and running. And everything just gets so fast, and it's so fast. Life is so fast.
This is the ever optimist in me, is that I think that there's always a new level of, like, just when I think that you think that you've like, all right, I've got this oh, there's a new level. Sure. But on an exciting front, there's also a new level of identifying what is next for the becoming. Because like, it never has to, should, or needs to be done.
Yeah.
I hope at retirement, I'm still trying to figure out ways to become better.
For sure.
To soften the edges, to be better to the people that mean the most to me.
Once we stopped growing, that was when I spun out. So I think I would agree. I'd stand with you on that. I hope I forever continue to grow and continue to learn and continue to be open-minded and humble.
I literally could sit here and probably do this for 4 more hours with you. Like we're so on the same wavelength. With
it's been really fun.
But this has been amazing, and I'm just so eternally grateful that you came, and
of course
that your life was spared, that you said yes to recovery all the times that you did, and that you're doing what you're doing. We'll have in the show notes how people can follow and connect with your stuff. But your initiatives right now, Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on?
Yeah, so we have a lot of stuff coming up, 2026 especially. So that's not going to be this type of thing that you have going on or this caliber, but we're launching our own podcast coming early 2026. It's just me and a couple buddies.
You say that now.
Yeah, we'll see. But it's just we hang out and we talk all the time anyway, and we talk about some really awesome stuff. And so the whole thought is to just put a camera on us because I think people can really get a lot out of what we're sharing.
Yeah.
In Michigan, we have a lot of resources. Outside of Michigan, we don't have a ton right now. People, if they are looking at getting sober, I do offer one-on-one coaching, but I have limited availability as I usually don't handle more than about 10 people at a time. And it's just because when stories start to blend and I start to not remember what you talked to me about last week versus what they talked to me about last week, that's when I don't feel like I'm doing a service to the person. So I usually take between 5 and 10 people. But I have other coaches that work for me, so they can definitely get in with one of my team, and I've trained them personally. So one-on-one coaching, you can go visit my website, CoreyWarren.com. If you're interested in getting a hold of me, we can do some free consults, all that kind of stuff. Looking at having some other stuff in the summer, but I don't want to talk too much about it right now.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, just keep
a reason to give you a follow and stay.
Yeah, we have some big stuff coming. My social manager is working hard at getting some cool stuff drummed up for the summer 2026. So it's gonna be a great year, a lot of fun things. But at the end of the day, man, like all this stuff is possible just because of sobriety. It's possible because I started to put that bottle down, focus on my future, focus on myself, figure out what was going on with me. So all of this stuff is fun. We could talk about, we can, set up these awesome studios and have these great conversations. But at the end of the day, like I think you and we do it for the same reason. We just want to help.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like what matters the most to me is that people are finding healing through whether it be my channel, your channel, somebody random. I don't really care where it comes from, but find your healing, start to work on yourself. Life is so beautiful. I know that it can sometimes not always feel like that, but life is beautiful. And I just want people to try to get better.
I have always said this, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, but like if everything that I've done until this point and building the studio and having you here, and I were to die tomorrow, knowing that we were able to change the trajectory of one person's life,
Just one.
so that they said, I'm gonna tell somebody because nobody knows I'm struggling.
You know what's cooler than a video that has 10 million views? That's full of crap. It has a bunch of random comments and a bunch of garbage all over it. There's a video with 1,000 views that's really hitting somebody. I would rather hit 1,000 people that need to hear this than 10 million people.
Absolutely.
Random who could care less.
There's something that always brings me to this point in almost every episode. I don't even have to try. And I'm so glad. I always want to speak to that person, which is multiple people who feel like you're the only one still. This episode's for you.
Mm-hmm.
If everything we did today was only for you to make a better decision for your life, it would be worth it.
For sure.
You're worth it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been awesome.
So wonderful. I hope we
got a lot to catch up on the next time we do this.
1,000%.
We got to do it again.
This has been the Patrick Custer Show. I'm Patrick Custer, your host, and so glad you stuck through for the whole entire conversation. It means you got something from it. And I just want to ask that you'd give us a follow, a like, engage with whichever platform that you're consuming this on, so that we can continue to do the good work and follow our heart, mission, passion, vision for this show. We're doing it for you. And the hope is that we're going to cause a ripple effect of good. And I hope that you get to continue being a part of that. But it starts with you. So we love feedback, we love engagement, and we are so grateful for all that you can do. And we're so glad that you're here. Hopefully you have been inspired to make a better decision in whatever area of your life that needs it today. And I hope to see or hear, or vice versa, you back next week on the Patrick Custer Show. Stay tuned. We'll see you then.